Hello, YouTubers, and welcome back to another episode of The Grandstand here on the Ohio Patriot Education Network YouTube channel. I'm, as always, your host, AR the Ohio Patriot. And for today's episode, we're going to talk about how Ohio's major cities are, in fact, 100% of the problem with the state currently. And basically discuss some more issue one stuff. A couple different things, actually. I was on my local gun shop's website recently, about an hour or so ago, and noticed that they had updated their stuff on there to now they have a huge thing where it's basically a direct link to a thing talking about the myths behind issue one and stuff like that. It's like all the leftist lies is what it is, and that's the whole point. And it is meant to confuse you, is what it is, dude. That's the entire point of the whole thing. When you have Democrats and globalists working together, which is what we're seeing here with issue one, they're going to sit there and confuse the shit out of you. They're going to sit there and try to demand that you vote no and confuse the shit out of you and be like, oh, but it's a threat to democracy and all this other horse shit, even though we're actually a, guaranteed constitutional republic by the founding documents of this nation. So, anyway. But, yeah, most recently what came out here was another stupid-ass Reddit post that just infuriated me to no end, dude. Just infuriated me to no end on this one. So, basically, you had we're gonna go ahead and start with that one, and then we'll talk about the whole myth and stuff like that thing a little bit. Here's what it is. So you had this person here say, just heard a new issue one argument that made me want to vote no even harder. Had a lady tell me about the need to vote yes because the populations of the three big cities, meaning Columbus, Cincinnati, and Cleveland, can outweigh everyone else, and there needs to be protections for the rest of the state. It's like they're being told some magical new thing every week. Make sure to get out and vote no to keep your voice. So you're a fucking idiot. What is this jerk off's fucking name here? Clance 2589 or 2598. Yeah, you're a fucking moron, dude. It's the truth, dude. What that woman said is exactly the truth. You have major city populations in this state right now trying to fuck over the rest of us. Which, by the way, if you look at Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, where's the majority of the fucking crime in the state of Ohio? Oh, yeah, that's right. It's in these Democrat-run hell pockets, you motherfuckers. But y'all never want to admit that shit. Y'all never want to admit how Ohio State and every other campus down there in Columbus is giant gun-free zones, and then you wonder why you got fucking mass shootings happening everywhere down there, and you got fucking gangbanging shit happening down there. Hell, you had a kid killed on the State House lawn pretty much like, what was it, 6 months, a year ago, not even now? Legitimately, on the fucking steps of our State House pretty much, like 15, 20 feet away from that was the lawn area there, where this dude dropped fucking dead in a gun battle with some other gangbangers, and then the cops is what it was. And it's like, Jesus Christ, dude. And you wonder why the fucking city is a shithole is what it is, dude. You wonder why Ginther is one of the worst mayors ever in Columbus. You wonder why Justin Bibb is the current worst mayor of fucking Cleveland. And the other dipshits that took over there, Cincinnati and stuff like that, dude, or even Dayton for that matter. It's like you wonder why you had an Antifa piece of shit almost 4 years ago now do a fucking massacre, which we're going to talk about on Friday, actually, because that's the 4th anniversary of that. Had that motherfucker go on that killing spree, literally less than 24 hours after El Paso happened. It's like 13 hours between the two of those events there. And of course, he wasn't stopped because why? Because you had gun-free zones and all these bars is what it was. Same thing today is what it is, dude. So, and it's a bunch of shit entirely, dude. I don't care if you're a liquor establishment or not. You should not be allowed to disarm people entirely in this country, honestly. Because that would be the place you actually need to be armed at, honestly, in many cases. So, and then you had some other asswipe here falsely claim, did you say to that woman, you mean the three big cities that pay the bulk of Ohio's taxes? No, you don't, dude. No, you don't. You want to sit there and talk about taxation, motherfuckers? We pay the exact same amount of taxes y'all do out here, man. And the thing is, most of you dickless pieces of shit in the major cities rent. You don't pay fucking taxation on rent, dude. You don't pay taxation on other stuff like that. The only people that pay property tax in Columbus, Cincinnati, Cleveland, etc., are the landlords that own these properties. In many cases, it's like 20 to 30 guys, or gals for that matter, that own that shit, because it's all like some kind of real estate firm or something like that owns the shit in many cases. Hell, there was one guy when I was living in Columbus about 12, 13 years ago. about, yeah, it was like 13-ish years ago now, 12, 13 years, someplace in there. The guy that I originally rented from down there, like 2009, 2010, he was basically a monopolizer in the major city there, is what it was, right by Ohio State's campus. He had like all these different places that were all rental properties at his place, is what it was. And it's like, yeah, you piss that guy off, you're basically going to get fucked over, is what it is. You're not going to be able to find a place to rent then. So he was a massive asshole, by the way. I just want to point that one out too, on top of that. So yeah, it's a bunch of shit, dude. And of course, these leftists will never actually admit that you have so many gerrymandered you have the gerrymandered counties here, like Cuyahoga, Franklin, Hamilton, etc., that are these major cities, and that's why they have like 30-something Democrats in our state house right now, even though there should be one county, one rep, is what it is. And if you don't have a problem with that, then fuck you, is what it is, dude. You probably shouldn't have voting rights in this state of this country ever again. So, anyway. And then you had some other asshole here say, where was that? Here, I said that. This person said, shit, the single Cleveland suburb I live in has more people in it than any of the 37 smallest counties in the state. Benton County only has like 14,000 people in it. So that doesn't matter, dude. They should still have the same voting power as you do, asshole. And that's the problem right there. Again, it's this leftist mindset thinking of, oh, I live in a major city, or I live in this big ass suburb, so I should have more fucking rights than anybody else does. Fuck you, dude. That is some communist ass bullshit right there. And that is some Marxist ass ideology, honestly. And if you want to know why I got a problem with both those things, it's because we're not a fucking communist country. We're not a fucking Marxist country. We are a constitutional republic that you dumb fucking retards have a fucking problem with because you're too fucking stupid to actually realize that. And you want to sit here and call us a fucking democracy or direct democracy every chance you get. Well, we're not either one of those things, never fucking have been. What we are is a constitutional republic that after X amount of time with voting rights became a constitutional republic with a Democrat voting process in it. But of course, that's a big ass fucking mouthful. So you dumbass leftists instead were like, our democracy, our democracy. No, we're not fucking democracy, dumbasses. Constitutional republic, Democrat voting process. Very, very big different thing at that point, dude. Because if we were a democracy, a direct democracy, you'd have mob rule. If we were a direct democracy, if we were a democracy, you would have legitimate dictatorships, which is what globalists want here. It's why they're trying to disarm us so badly, dude. It's why you got Bloomberg, Soros, etc., all back in the vote no campaign as you want and financially doing this shit right now. It's why you have literally $7 million fucking dollars in the last few days being brought in from California, Virginia, Washington, D.C., New York, etc., from these globalist pieces of shit, dude. And I'm sorry, but at what point do we just say, fuck that? You try to bring an outside money into these fucking things, dude, fuck you. You can't bring in a dime. You want to raise money in state, that's one thing. You want to sit there and make some bullshit ass super PAC that's literally funneling $7 million into our state? Get the fuck out of here, motherfucker. You want to run some bullshit ad buys with that fucking money? Go fuck yourself. And that's the problem right now, is it's these fucking assholes that are behind all these fucking no one issue one fucking TV ads that I've been seeing for the last month and a half now or more. And I'm getting frankly sick and tired of it, dude. Hell, there was one this morning. I thought it was a fucking vote no ad. And it turned out it was actually a vote yes ad because of the fact that it was done in such a way, it honestly seemed like it was going to be a vote no ad. And I think it's because it's the same damn investment from all these people keep using is what it is, instead of actually just calling out people like the fucking assholes that are doing it. Like, that's the thing too, as well, for that matter. So you've had one of these ads coming out for like the last month and a half or so, where it's basically them shit talking LaRose by some shit he admitted to, which is talking about it being about abortion and stuff like that. And yet, meanwhile, nobody has the balls to use the 30-second fucking clip of that dipshit Justin Bibb, Cleveland mayor, saying, oh, we should totally keep Ohio as 50% plus one with a vote no campaign so that we can then turn around and try to put some voter initiative thing into there to fucking put gun control through. Yeah, that's what people should be using right there, dude. Just take that fucking thing, do a literal edit of it, like edit it to the fucking, to some kind of an ad that says, vote yes August 8th or whatever the case be, and put that shit out immediately, dude. You could have done that 2 weeks ago is what it is, or whatever the fuck he said that from. Honestly, it should have been the day that he said that shit. It should have been the next day somebody was working on that day, honestly, and it should have been like a day or two after that. It should have been running as a fucking ad campaign entirely, dude. That's the problem. This is the real problem I have entirely with the center and the right of our society currently, is it's always backpedaling. We are always on the offense. We are always fucking basically having to deal with whatever the fucking left throws forward is what it is, dude. Instead of actually pushing back first on these fucking people is what it is, dude. And that's the problem right now. It's always it's always reactionary fucking things. And that's the thing. We're great at reactionary stuff. We need to be proactive at this point and start punching these motherfuckers in the face first, honestly, dude. You know, go full Cobra Kai in their asses. Strike first, strike hard, no mercy, motherfuckers. And that's seriously what it needs to be, honestly, right now. I actually got an email earlier today that was basically talking about, and like I said, about 50-50 coin flip and stuff like that earlier. One of these previous grandstands and stuff like that with the whole yes, no and stuff. We're pretty close right now where you have the yes votes from the early voting and stuff like that, like just outweighing the no votes by like 1.5% or something like that, according to polling and stuff. So I don't know what it really is. Like I said, I was talking on Honda's chat last night about this. When you start looking into it, you got, you know, places like Reddit that's definitely a leftist echo chamber of just vote no people. You go onto Facebook and stuff like that, which is a lot of older folks, like, you know, older millennials, Gen X, baby boomers, etc. They're all like, oh yeah, vote yes, you know, August 8th or even before that. And then you basically have Twitter that's like a mixed bag where it's, you know, a lot of state reps and other state officials going on there and being like, vote yes. And then you got a bunch of fucking ass clown Twitter users being like, oh, this is why you should vote no, and basically forming their own little echo chamber there. So it's like, it's really fucking hard to say where it's going to go, honestly, at this point, man. And then, of course, you got Frank LaRose today coming out of the woodwork and being all like, talking about Matt Dolan and Bernie Moreno should both help him out with issue 1 and stuff like that. And it was just really weird in general. This was the, I'm going to go ahead and talk about this for a minute here. This was the press release that LaRose had as a Twitter post a few hours ago. It says, radical out-of-state activists are pouring money into Ohio, looking to buy our Constitution. It's important to come together and do whatever we can to win this campaign. That's why I'm calling on Matt Dolan and Bernie Moreno to step up and help secure the critical yes on issue 1 victory for our state. It says press release, Frank LaRose calls on opponents, Bernie Moreno and Matt Dolan, to step up and help support issue 1. So, yeah, pretty interesting in general. And then, of course, this fucking idiot, Michael Lynn, said, radical out-of-state activists are responsible for the creation of issue 1, and you know this. Except they're not, fuckface. They are literally, quite literally, dude. This is what I hate about these fucking leftist douchebags like that, by the way. So they'll sit there and falsely claim it was like some random billionaire in Illinois that's like basically funding the Vote Yes campaign. It's not, dude. The guy legitimately, I forget what his name is offhand because I really don't care is what it is. The entire point is, though, that particular individual donated like $1 million or something like that. Maybe it was like 1.5, 1.6, something like that, to some random groups in the state of Ohio. Specifically, it was people like the pro-life Ohio groups is what it was, essentially. Just because that dude gives $1 million something, dude, doesn't mean that there's not a bunch of out-of-state special interests on the fucking left doing the exact same thing in many more ways. And when you can look at it and look at the spending being, you know, 3-1, 5-1, 7-1 in most cases, where you got this one billionaire dude in Illinois giving like $1 million or something to some group here, and then meanwhile, you got fucking other assholes on the left giving 6, 7, 8 million bucks to fucking, you know, abortionist groups, etc. here. Or it's like the people that were like the vote throwing of weed and stuff like that, where they had like $37 million to spend on ad campaigns and buys and stuff like that, dude. Which, like I said, I have no problem with legal weed coming to Ohio, dude, and recreational weed being a thing here in the state of Ohio. What I have a fucking problem with is a bunch of goddamn fucking globalist pieces of shit, a bunch of billionaires, multimillionaires, etc., a bunch of celebrity assholes being the ones that control our fucking things and not allowing the people to be able to fund our own financial futures by having our own, you know, ability to come up and actually become multimillionaires ourselves, if that be the case then, because that's how true capitalism should work in this country. But unfortunately, because the crony capitalist bullshit we keep falling under, which is we got that fucking piece of shit Michael Bloomberg to become a billionaire in the first place. By the way, if you don't know that guy's story, I'm going to talk about it right now. Michael Bloomberg, billionaire, globalist sack of shit, literally made pretty much all of his fortune by short selling stock, which should be illegal in this country, because what you're doing is you're inflating stock prices and claiming that some stock that should have 100% has like 5,000% on it or whatever now. And if somebody calls your bluff, like they did with the Wall Street bet stuff a couple years ago with GameStop and stuff like that, guess what? That motherfucker would have been paying out the teeth at that point, but nobody ever did. So what he did was he would do all that shit over and over again, have hedge fund managers and hedge fund investors and stuff like that, do all kinds of stuff like that with short selling a stock for him, and then turn him from a millionaire into a billionaire. And meanwhile, at the same time, was trying to disarm the American people for decades. And then, of course, funded Moms to Man Action, funded Students to Man Action, funded all these radical leftist anti-gun groups, etc. there, dude. And people wonder why I hate this fucking prick so much, dude. It's because he's literally the biggest scumbag sack of shit out-of-state special interest trying to fuck over Ohio when that asshole lives in New York City is what it is. Or at least New York State anyway, or at least he did at one point in history. I know he doesn't live here in Ohio anyway. That's all I know for that one, dude. He's obviously New York mayor. He was actually the worst mayor in New York City's history before Bill de Blasio and Eric Adams took over that fucking moniker now. But yeah, he legitimately was the one that started like the downcline of everything in the city of New York is what it was there, man. Where you had the whole stop and frisk bullshit and everything else like that. So anyway. And then you got some other dipshit LaRosa's thing saying, yes, radical out-of-state Republican billionaires are pouring into the authoritarian majority. Leftists like Michael Bloomberg are near future idiots. And you got this one moron here that called themselves 40 years Republican, never again. Yeah, well, now you're going to be a fucking retard Democrat voter for life and then die voting Democrat and then still vote Democrat after death because that's how they work, man. You know, they did always vote Democrat for real. But anyway, enough is enough with the stupidity here is what it is, dude. We're going to go and talk about the myths about issue 1 here. So this is obviously on Finn's website that I went to earlier. And it was a direct link to these people that are known as Sportsman's Alliance. So I'm guessing it would be a 2A, like shooting club maybe or something. Anyway, it says myths about Ohio's issue 1 are meant to confuse voters. This is from 10 days ago is when this was written here. It says if one only listened to opponents of Ohio's issue 1, a person might believe that democracy itself is under grave threat if voters approve the ballot measure, but nothing could be farther from the truth. Issue 1 actually protects democracy, well, it's Constitutional Republic actually, by protecting the state constitution. So technically you're protecting the Constitutional Republic is what it actually should be written as. It says coalition, where are we now? Yeah, Constitution must endure over time and should not be. Sorry, my eyes are kind of messed up because I'm a little bit tired right now. Take my glasses off for a sec here. Got some shit on them here. So, anyway. But yeah, as I said here, it said. Yeah, it says Constitution must endure over time and should not be subject to the whims of public opinion, often changing as rapidly as the seasons. Issue 1 rises the bar to change Ohio's constitution from 50% plus one vote to 60% plus one vote, Says, despite what you've read or been told, issue one changes nothing else. So there is a great deal of misinformation about the ballot question and many outright falsehoods. So it is important to separate fact from fiction as sportsmen encounter their vote or consider their vote for issue one. Says four big myths on issue one. Myth one: issue one threatens democracy. Fact: issue one actually protects it, exactly as the safeguards of the U.S. Constitution have protected our national constitutional republic for well over 200 years. Said amendments to the U.S. Constitution require a two-thirds vote, or 66% of the vote, of U.S. Senate and House Representatives, after which 75% of the states must also approve the language for it to actually be adopted as a U.S. constitutional right and amendment. So it's hard to amend U.S. Constitution because our framers had the foresight to understand that America's new democracy would simply not survive the foundational document. Simply not survive if its foundational document could be changed easily, often, and without a strong consensus supporting such a move. In short, we have endured as the longest running. Okay, so first of all, we're not a fucking democracy, goddammit, people. Whoever the fuck wrote this is an idiot. We are a constitutional republic, dude. We are the longest running constitutional republic in human history. That's what we are, dude. Anyway, myth two: issue one ends majority rule and allows Ohio to be controlled by 40% of the voters. Fact: issue one, if it passes, all ballot issues except the constitutional changes will remain at the 50% plus one vote threshold. All candidate elections for local, state, and federal office will remain at 50% plus one vote. None of this will change. We cannot state or not stress this enough. Majority of Ohio voters will continue to exercise the same level of control that they always have, with all elections that don't seek to amend the state constitution requiring the same simple majority, 50% plus one vote. So basically, everything that is not an actual state constitutional change, that's the only thing that would change. Would be people trying to amend the state constitution. That's what requires 60% plus one vote, is what it would be to get through. And obviously, it would be all 88 counties, 5% of the vote there would actually have to be done with all of them to be getting on board, even have that be a constitutional amendment, what it would be. Let's see. Myth three: issue one destroys Ohio's one person, one vote standard. Fact: each person's vote will still be counted if issue one is approved, and each person's vote is weighed the same as other states. Changing the percentage required to alter the Constitution doesn't change this in any way, shape, or form. The argument is simply a cliche told by those who have no idea how voting and representation actually work, because they're all a bunch of morons and they're all usually leftists. What it is, dude. So it's likely also that they don't know what issue one actually does. And finally, myth four: issue one eliminates the right of the people to directly change Ohio's laws. Fact: if issue one is approved, Ohioans will retain the power to initiate a ballot question to change any and all laws, just as they can now with 50% plus one vote to win. This includes the power to reject a law passed by the state legislature. Issue one is not about power grab, which is the major talking point and how many who are untruthful talk about issue one. And it says conclusions: opponents of issue one will say anything to scare voters. They will say issue one is about abortion and legislative redistricting, as if there are only issues on the table. But issue one is actually about something much broader. It's about whether we should protect the state constitution or not. Exactly. It's also why you have people like me who are pro gun groups all supporting issue one. It's why you have the Ohio Chamber of Commerce supporting issue one. It's why you have pretty much a bunch of farmers in the state supporting issue one. It's why you have the majority of the state government supporting issue one, you know? And that's the thing. And honestly, the biggest issue, and it goes back to something that was mentioned there about the whole abortion thing, the issue comes the fact that Frank LaRose is a fucking dumbass. Like, that's what it really is, dude. Frank LaRose is a fucking idiot who is Secretary of State currently, who went on a whole fucking grandstand tirade thing at some random ass fucking meeting that some dipshit had a fucking cell phone out at. And he was like, basically doing the whole Beto O'Rourke, like, hell yes, this is what it is about. And was like, yeah, it's about fucking abortion 100%. And it's like, no, it's not, dude. That's just one of many things it's about. It's about protecting human life. It's about not allowing children to be sterilized, which is exactly what that other bullshit part of the November ballot initiative is about, that they want to claim is all about abortion. They literally can allow kids to be on fucking sterilization drugs without parental consent if that would pass in November, actually, dude. So it's about those two things. It's about, gun rights in the future, which you already have Bibb coming out of the woodwork and saying they're going to try and fuck our gun rights then. You have a bunch of other assholes like Andrew Ginther and Allison Russo, etc., coming out of the woodwork and being all like, oh, well, we're going to try to fuck over the state preemption laws and state home rule and stuff like that. Yeah, because they want to sit there and they want to have their own little areas in the major cities being basically giant gun-free zones and being able to fuck you for using your actual God-given constitutional right to keep and bear arms in the state, which is protected under Article 1, Section 4 of the Ohio Constitution. And that's where I'm really in this fight about, dude. I'm in the fight about everything across that board right now that I mentioned, but it's especially about that last one because I know for a fact if these cocksuckers try to steal our gun rights, the next thing they're going to do is they're going to go full Nazi Germany, Hitler style, and put us in fucking death camps, dude. And you think I'm kidding around about that? I'm not, by the way. You want to know what the end game of all these fucking globalists is, dude? That's what it is. It's why George Soros, who was a fucking Nazi collaborator in World War II, exactly why that piece of shit and his fucking idiot son, Alex Soros, are the ones directly funding the ACLU for this shit, for the Vote No campaign. You have a dude who should have been brought up on war crimes almost a century ago, and yet is still walking free to this day with billions of dollars behind him, is what it is. And yet, these are the fucking people, these moronic leftists, these fucking lemmings in our society, want to sit there and follow right off a cliff. Is the globalist pieces of shit with a fucking carrot on a stick telling them, oh, hey, just vote no on issue 1 and keep that 50% plus 1. Oh, by the way, you remember that ballot initiative that we passed in Oregon called BLM 114? Oh, yeah, let's do that here in Ohio now, too. Fuck that, dude. That's one of the biggest fights that we have coming right now, by the way. If issue 1 does not pass, you're going to have Bloomberg do some shit like that here, where he's going to try and fuck us with pistol permit purchasing stuff, with all kinds of other BS required training, everything else like that, dude. That's all unconstitutional. And then it would be us having to fight that in courts, too, as well. And I'll be damned if I spend the next 10 years of my life fighting against that bullshit, dude, when I can stop it right fucking now. Right fucking here. Before it even gets off the damn ground. And that's the problem entirely with allowing any kind of billionaire out-of-state douchebags to fuck over your state entirely, dude. The fact that you had Everytown, MDA, and Giffords being the ones behind that ballot measure in Oregon there a year ago, that alone should have disqualified it from even being on the fucking ballot, dude. Because it was special interests from out of state that were trying to fuck a state's constitutional rights. Like, how is this shit even legal, honestly? Like, that's what I don't understand at this point in history, honestly, dude. Like, how is any of that shit legal without these people being arrested on the spot at that point? For literally trying to steal people's constitutional rights away from them. For trying to do full Hitler level shit, dude. Trying to do full Stalin level shit. Trying to do any kind of dictator throughout history's levels of bullshit. It just blows me away. And then you wonder why I talk about the major cities in Ohio being 100% the problem in the state right now. Because they are. You look at where pretty much every single crime happens in the state right now, except for a handful of things here and there. It's almost always from these major cities, dude. And if it's not in the major cities, it's the spillover into small towns outside of them. It's just like me, man. When I had my gun stolen from me a couple years ago, it was some fucking assholes from over in Canton. It was them coming from the minor city near me to come steal my shit. So, Yeah, it's a bunch of crap entirely, man. And then you have a bunch of assholes in our state house right now, Jessica Miranda and company like that, who are trying to push through safe storage laws. And you got idiots like Bob Peterson, a fucking rhino sack of shit, who should have been out of office a year ago now because he was termed out of the state senate then, but instead was allowed to flip flop our General Assembly and break actual term limit laws that were on the books for over a decade now. Same thing with all the fucking Democrats and stuff like that. The same thing, like Catherine Ingram, Paula Hicks Hudson, etc., that jumped over the state senate last year. So you have these assholes on both major parties right now doing that shit. And you got Peterson giving these 100% Democrat bills hearings. Okay, who are you fucking, dude? Whose pocket are you actually in, Bob Peterson? Or Jim Thomas, who's the second guy there, the first term rep, by the way, that beat out Thomas West for the Canton area there, which, by the way, if we actually had the one county, one rep legislation like I've been talking about for over a year now on the books currently, you would have had Jim Thomas, Reggie Stolfus, and Scott Olinger, who all represent the Stark County area, have the three of those guys be facing off against each other in a general election or a primary or something else for that matter. And it would have been one of those three that would have actually been the actual person for the entirety of Stark County, not just one part of it is what it is. And it would be the same thing with Allison Russo and all those people down there. You'd have Allison Russo and like 10 other Democrats down there, or sorry, 9 Democrats down there, like Dontavius Jarrells, etc. there, all facing off against each other in a Democrat primary. And then they would have been facing off against, I can't remember what the first term rep guy is down there as Republican. He was basically the guy that got busted. David Dobos, that's who it is. Yeah, Dobos got busted here some months back now about basically falsifying his record for went to MIT, which he apparently didn't, I guess. And it's like, dude, why would you even lie about shit like that? Like, why would you ever give these people fuel for that kind of stuff, dude? It's just stupid entirely. But yeah, you would have had some Democrat be facing off against a Republican then in the general election. It wouldn't be some BS thing where you have these gerrymandered ass districts like Allison Russo's Upper Arlington area there in district, I believe it's 9 that she represents. Or it might be 7, actually. I'm not sure. I can't remember offhand. It's one of those low numbers, though. But yeah, you would have, or even Dontavius Jarrells is District 1 there in like major city, the actual downtown Columbus area there, which is the hood, basically, where he represents, by the way. You would not have these one-horse races between these people, is what it is, dude. Where it's just them not even having to face off a challenger in a primary, let alone somebody else from the other side of the ticket or any other side of a ticket in the general election, because they wouldn't be gerrymandered sub blue is what it is. You would have legitimately representation again in these areas. So anyway, but of course Democrats don't want to do that, and they don't want to admit that they actually are gerrymandering our major cities in the state for more representation in our state house right now, because they know if they actually do have one county, one rep on the books right now, you have about 6 to 8 Democrats entirely in our state house instead of 30 something. You'd have like probably 30, 40 Republicans or so. And then if we did one county, one rep the way I actually want to do it, you would have third parties be across the board right now, being in our state house as well for that matter. So you'd have some libertarians in there, you'd have some Green Party people in there, you'd have some inner libertarians like myself in there, et cetera, et cetera. And you would actually have true representation again, is what it is, dude. And hell, if you wanted to have some fucking Democrat run as an actual communist, then they can run as a fucking communist then. If people are stupid enough to vote them into a fucking position of power at a county level there, dude, okay, that's on that county is what it is, dude. Like, maybe y'all are just a bunch of stupid motherfuckers who have voting rights after that or whatever, but like, even still, you know, if you're dumb enough to vote a communist into power that's running as an actual communist or whatever, like, that's on you, you know? And that's the great thing about how an actual constitutional republic with a Democrat voting process works. But again, nobody actually seems to understand that. And that's the problem right now with our society in a nutshell, honestly, dude. And that's why I'm personally just sick and tired of all these vote no people, because it's like, you are so stupid that you don't understand what the fuck is really happening here. Or maybe even, and the worst thing of it is, I think some of them actually do understand. And that's what makes it even worse, dude, because you are actively trying to fuck over everybody else is what it is. It's just like the people who, the one that I was talking about the other day, actually, with that one guy and his wife and stuff like that, where the dude was all like, oh yeah, I told my wife to vote no to keep the power in the people's hands. All you're doing is handing it to fucking globalist, asshole. That's all you're doing. You're fucking over people like myself and everybody else out here that gives a shit about life, that gives a shit about Second Amendment, everything else like that in the Constitution. And you're not fucking over the state government, you moron. You're fucking over the rest of the people in this state that actually give a fuck about the state, is what it is. Clearly, something you don't is what it is. So, yeah, it's a big fucking issue right now, dude. And it's something that it's fucking infuriating beyond belief, honestly, to just have to listen to these people every goddamn day, man. So you can't even get away from it. You try, and that's the worst part of it too, by the way, when you have these, subreddits dedicated to states and stuff like that. And again, it would be one thing if it was just this mega thread or whatever, where it's just like a bunch of like little teeny baby threads in it or whatever, of like people being like, "Oh yeah, that's why you should vote no, vote no, vote no, whatever." But then it's not. It's they took over this entire subreddit for the state of Ohio, and it's just every single thing except for one or two is just like, "Vote no. This is why you should vote no. This is what fucking why democracy is so great, even though we're a constitutional republic," and they're too dumb to realize that. So, anyway. And then they'll never actually admit that when you have Democrats in power for decades in these different major cities, it's what's led to the downcline of the cities and the overall criminality going on in them right now. So, anyway, I can't wait, honestly. It's going to be 8 more days from now. I'm going to be able to go vote on issue 1. I'm going to vote yes on it, obviously. And, fingers crossed, 8:30, 9 o'clock that night, right before Honda's Tuesday chat, we're going to get that shit voted through, and I can be on that chat, and I'll be all smiles, by the way. I'll come on, and I'll be fucking smiling like, Cheshire cat, ear to ear, baby, if we can get that through. If we can't, then it's fucking game on. And like I said before, if it doesn't go through, if we still have 50% plus 1 come August 9th, guess what? I will start initiating the one county, one rep legislation then as an actual voter petition is what it'll be then. And I will make sure once and for all that we can actually maintain power in this state the right way, and that the people that actually care about the Constitution finally have our voice heard once and for all, and we don't have this bullshit two-party gerrymandered system anymore, and that way we actually have true representation in our state house again, as it would be, with less people in it, for that matter. So, anyway, that's pretty much for the day. I'll be back probably, unless something else happens related to like issue 1 that I feel like doing a stream on or whatever the case be. Probably not until Thursday, and then obviously Thursday will be Buckshot Thursday. It'll be the 4th anniversary remembrance episode for the El Paso tragedy and that Walmart massacre that happened 4 years ago. We'll do a reading of names for that. We'll do the direct fallout stuff that happened there. Well, we'll do the whole thing actually, just like we did with Gilroy last week, this past weekend, which is basically it'll be what led up to that whole thing, how it went down, the fallout of it, which obviously was a big thing there because, again, going back to the whole Bloomberg thing, what'd you have with El Paso? You had piece of shit Michael Bloomberg working with the Walton-heirs to try to do away with ammunition in their stores is what it was, dude. And what did they do away with? They did away with pretty much every single handgun caliber across the book, across the board there, and a bunch of rifle ammo too, for that matter, which is kind of funny because when you go into Walmarts now, they still carry certain rifle calibers, dude, that are actually, ironically enough, quote unquote, hunting rounds, but they're actually more powerful than a lot of the shit they actually banned, because they banned like 223, 556, 762, 39, etc. there. But then you still have, like 308 you can buy there, or 762, 51 equivalents and stuff, or even go in there and buy like 350 Legend, which is the hunting round caliber version for straight wall cartridge state like Ohio, which is nothing more than a blown out 556 is what it is. Or you can go in there and get like I think in some cases like 30-06 or whatever the case be, or like various other like 762 54R and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just kind of silly, honestly. Like all you did was basically fuck over a bunch of like other people's ability to just buy ammo easily at some place like that and actually make some money for yourself on the same time. And instead you cucked out to the fucking globalist douchebag asshole who didn't give you a shit is what it is, dude. So anyway, it's pretty disgusting in general. And knowing it happened almost 4 years, it was about 3 and a 1/2-ish years ago that happened, actually, when it finally took effect and everything. And then, of course, since then, you've also had other stuff going on at Walmart and stuff all the time now, where it's basically a lot of theft and criminality and shit like that there, and you wonder why. And it's like, yeah, when you don't a lot of people to carry in your stores and stuff like that, dude, like all you're doing is creating another shooting gallery slash gun free zone for these people. What it is, I want to do harm to people. So anyway, it is what it is, man. That's the great thing about constitutional carry states, man. They can't actually stop you from carrying in there because they don't know you have it on you. So anyway. But yeah, needless to say, that's pretty much wrap for the day. Like I said, be back for Buckshot Thursday this week with the 4th anniversary Day of Remembrance for the El Paso tragedy, and then Friday for Freedom Friday, we'll be doing the 4th anniversary of the Dayton Massacre. Different things have happened since then. All the bullshit the Democrats tried to push here, and so forth and so on. That'll probably be about an hour and a half episode, if not longer, even for that matter, maybe 2 hours, depending here and there. Because I want to go over some stuff, and I'll probably go over it a couple of times, is what it is. And there's a lot of information that's happened since then that I want to go over entirely. And then 2 weeks from now, on the 11th/12th, I'll be doing my 4th anniversary of my federal swatting, which happened in direct response to the Dayton Massacre. And, all the fucker that happened with that whole thing. And then we'll go over the whole, what's led me to where I'm at right now in life 4 years later. And, just how more constitutional I became since then is what it is. So, anyway. But other than that, that's where we're at for the day. Hope you guys enjoyed this. If you live in Ohio, please, please vote yes on issue 1. If you give a shit about the state constitution, if you give a shit about people's rights, vote yes, man. If you don't care about those things, be a dumbass and vote no. If you want to suck Michael Bloomberg and George Soros' dicks, vote no. It's really as simple as that, man. If you want to blow some globalists, vote no. If you don't want globalist dick in your face, vote yes. And it's as simple as that, really. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good day. Later.